Good morning, everyone. Share the video. Good morning, Gail, Eleanor, Sister Linda. Good morning, everybody. Well, welcome to the show this morning. Hope you're all doing okay as you are now into the new year by about 3 days. I am I'm excited. I've been working a lot, but I'm excited. Working mostly at home. So all of you know, I collected about 200 pallets. About 75% of those are pretty good, and about 25% are so-so. Anyway, so I've been building a barn out of pallets, and so I've been working on that for the past week or so because of two or three things. One, we just need a place for our dogs to. We've got two great Pyrenees now. Now our dog Bubba is really my dog. He was my dad's dog. Now since my dad died, Bubba took up with me. He follows me everywhere I go. It doesn't matter if I walk to the mailbox or wherever, he's there. And so, anyways, Bubba, he just kind of lays on the back porch. He doesn't even chase things anymore. He just kind of barks. Good morning, LaRue O. Prescott, otherwise known as Rudy. Rudy. Good to see you, LaRue. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. It's going to be a good year. Anyway, so we have these two Great Pyrenees now, and they're puppies. We actually have three, but one's leaving today. We didn't breed them or anything. Our neighbor their dogs had them. And anyways, Donnie Cooper's coming today to pick up one of them because Donnie raises goats, and the coyotes just about decimated his goat herd. So he's getting this Great Pyrenees. Them Pyrenees will run them coyotes off. They're such friendly dogs, but they don't like a coyote for some reason. If you want to get rid of coyotes, you need Great Pyrenees and you need a good donkey. Them donkeys they'll attack them. They'll whack them coyotes. Anyways, Betsy Bonner Monaco. God bless you, Betsy. And if you want to come clean this weekend, you can. Betsy cleans our office here, and she does a fabulous job. It's always clean. The floors are clean. There's no residue on the floors, no mop streaks, no nothing. She just does fantastic. She's awesome. And she might be taking on more people. I don't know. If you are, Betsy, let us know. I'm sure we could all use a good house cleaning after this time of the year. Anyways, she's awesome. Anyway, so I'm building that pallet barn. It is getting to be kind of gigantic. And like I said, I got 200 something pallets, and it's so simple because you lay three down on the ground and screw them together and stand them up. It's easier. I didn't do it. Awesome. Bless you, Betsy. You're great. When I first started putting them in there, I would put one in, screw it to the pole, put another one in, screw it in, and that sort of thing. Then I found out not to do it that way because the ground is not completely level. So if you put one in here and you screw it in and you put this one in next to it, the ground may be a little higher and they'll kick out on the bottom or something. So I found screw three together. And anyways, I started going up with that thing, and now I've got the corrals. I started to build the pens one way, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I went and bought lumber yesterday and started building better, nicer looking, actually corrals, because one day when the dogs are running, we'll have them for horses. Anyways, good morning, Rebecca Warren. God bless you. You're awesome sauce of the world, too. So I've been working on that, and I'm trying to get finished up today and tomorrow. My son, John Andrews, coming in tonight, him and his wife. We're going to have a little Christmas with them tomorrow, as well as Christmas dinner for them. And he'll be helping me on getting, I got to get the roof on tomorrow. That's the main thing, is get the roof on. But we'll have that done. And then we'll get the siding on it. But everything else it'll all be done. So excited about getting that knocked out and moving forward. So the other thing is, so I made a major decision for me. I looked at Linda and I said, I'm never going to eat sugar again. And I said, I'm going to do this carnivore diet. Now I hate the word diet. First part of diet's die, so I don't like the word diet, but it's just a way of eating. You're not dieting. You're actually dieting implies you eat something less or something along that line. I'm not eating anything less. I'm just eating meat and eggs. And I went to Sam's this morning, had breakfast before I came here, did several things, fixed my printer, checked a couple things in the building, went to Sam's and ate a pile of eggs, ham, bacon, sausage. And I'm really full from that. Since I have, this past Sunday, I said, no more. That's it. I quit it cold turkey, literally. Anyways, so since this past Sunday, I've had 0 sugar and I've only eaten meat and eggs. And I thought on Tuesday I was dying. I was like, and then last night, Linda, where we were in Walmart, I think, last night, and Linda and I turned down an aisle, and it was all the cookies, it was all the sweet stuff and stuff like that. And I'm going like, I would have to come down this aisle. Let's get off this aisle here. It's amazing. You know the Little Debbie, the food prostitute. she's leaning she's leaning on every aisle calling out your name, Anyway, so since this past Sunday, I started Sunday, I've had 0 sugar. I've only been eating meat and eggs. And you'd be surprised. Now, I switched gym memberships. I was working out at Adrenaline over here. Now I'm back at Anytime Fitness in Mahia, and the reason for that is because I'm working out with my friend, and y'all see him on here, Pastor Jared Rogers. I'll call him Rabbi Rogers, because he's got a beard down to about here. So me and the Rabbi we started working out yesterday. And so I said, well, listen, let me show you that he wanted to work his legs out and his back and everything. I said, there's an exercise that will do it all, really, kind of in one motion. The way you do it, it works out almost your whole body, but really your thighs and legs. It's called the skier. And basically, if you've ever been skiing on slopes, you get in that position, kind of bend your knees. You get a couple of dumbbells in your hand, whatever you think you can stand. I had 225s. And you start doing the skiing motion like you're skiing downhill. And, excuse me, I did 2 sets of 12 with 25-pound dumbbells, and he was using 20-pound dumbbells. And I'm going to tell you, after I left out of the gym, my legs were like Jell-O. I almost couldn't walk last night, and my thighs are on fire right now from that. So I went, Pastor Jared was not feeling well this morning. ate something, didn't agree with him, I guess, or something along that line. Anyway, so I went again this morning. I worked out, I stretched, and cracked, did a couple of shots, cracked my back because I'm going to the chiropractor here in a little bit. But anyway, so I have made it 6 days. Tomorrow will be 7. I have made it 6 days with no sugar, and I'm only eating basically protein, eggs, and meat. And after I got past Tuesday, the third day, there was a resurrection. Hallelujah. Anyways, I got past Tuesday, where Tuesday I was like, oh, I was having dizzy spells and all kinds of stuff. I went over to my bookshelf, tried to find a book, and I was looking for it, and I was standing there wobbling. I said, got to go lay down. So I did. Anyways, after I got past that, Wednesday I was feeling better. Yesterday I felt great. Today I feel really good. I feel I'm starting to get some of my energy back. And so I've been getting up at 4 something, and because I have to meet him at 5, so I have to leave at least by 4:50 to get to the gym. It's 5 miles away, but going down my road to get to 1365 is slow. So so I get there. I actually been making about 5 minutes early, and I just kind of pray a little bit, meditate, thank the Lord before I go in there and ask God to help me not get hurt. So I am doing things a little bit differently in the sense that when I got in the gym, I've not been pushing super hard. I've just been working on my flexibility, and I've just lifting to get loose this past few days. Next week will be a different story. So I'll be lifting a little heavier, a little more intense, and building, and then I'll build up to weights and then HIIT training as well, and that sort of thing. But I plan to stay with what they call the carnivore way of eating, and staying completely off of sugar. One thing, I was having some numbness, uh, not really numbness, as when I would go to bed at night, the bottom of my feet would go numb. I wouldn't lose the feeling in them. And uh, I was having some nerve pain, sometimes excruciating neuropathy type pain. And uh, after Tuesday, about Wednesday, that started subsiding. And last night I didn't have any. I had zero nerve pain and no numbness. So I'm like, hey, I'm already experiencing the benefits. Good morning, Miss Ranella. Good to see you. I'm already experiencing the benefits of it, so I'm gonna stay with it because I plan on living a long time. Anyways, it's already been a successful week, and it's not been easy. Now I have been challenging you guys for the past couple of weeks to raise your level of expectation. We talked about that yesterday, of raising your standards. If you have had this one standard in your finances here, in your giving, raise it. If you've had this standard in your health, raise it. Go up another notch. What could you do today? What can you start today? What can you start right now that will just change one area of your life? I'm not talking about, there are a lot of people, the reason most people fail, and we talked about this the other day. Don't make resolutions, make a revolution. A revolution is a sudden, quick change. It is a change for the better. It's a shift. Quick change is not good. It's a shift, was the definition actually. A revolution is a shift in any area of your life. It could be spiritual, it could be physical, it could be financial, it could be relational. It could be a shift in politics. That's what a revolution is. Sometimes we think of a revolution as a great big battle. It's not necessarily a battle. Sometimes a revolution is just an upheaval in our thinking. Now, the reason most people fail to make any change in their life for the better is because they try to change too much at one time. Now, I've seen this happen a lot over the years. I've seen it happen in individuals. I've seen it happen in churches. Uh, I've I've always I got good advice early on in life when I would go to pastor a church, and I've pastored a few, started a few. Went to pastor a church. My father-in-law, Linda's dad, told me one time, said, "Now, John," he said, "wherever you go, don't be quick to make changes." He said, "Take time, take about it, take 6 months or a year, and slowly, steadily, and implement change, but don't do it right away." He said, and here was the reasoning. He said, a lot of people that are in that church are going to still be hung up on the former pastor and the way he did things and what he liked. And they are used to, for the past 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes 40 years, have been doing it the way that pastor has done it. And if you come in and start changing things real quick, you're going to alienate them and make it look like that you didn't care about anything the former pastor did. So, and I have seen that over and over again, where a pastor would go into a church, basically have "this is my church now, we're going to do it my way" type deal, and make a lot of changes, and people become frustrated because okay, I told this to Linda last night. Now, those of you who know me know I like crime movies and TV shows, investigative, legal things. And my favorite show of all time on TV was Monk, the defective detective. Monk was a savant in investigation, but he was afraid of everything. He was a germaphobe. He had lists and lists of fears and things like that. And so on one episode, I've never forgot this. On one episode, Monk said this phrase here. I said this to my wife last night. He said this. He said, "I don't mind change. I just don't want to be around when it's happening." How many of you, raise your hand if you feel that way? Do you feel that way? Do you say, I don't mind change. I just don't want to be around when it's happening? And that's the way I am in a lot of ways. I don't mind change. I just don't want to be around when it's happening. Now, there's a lot of people that don't mind change, but they don't want to be around when it's happening, or they don't want to be involved in the process of it. And this just seems to be human nature. So a lot of people fail at making change. Excuse me. Fail at making change in their life because they try to change too much at one time. And when you try to change too much at one time, you're going to create overwhelm in your life. Not only are you going to create overwhelm in your life, but the change you make is going to be mediocre at best, because you can't, we're not geared to concentrate on 5, 10 things at one time. So it's better to focus on one thing and become passionate about that change than it is to try to change a multiplicity of things at one time and avoid the overwhelm. And that's what happens to a lot of people. Well, just let me give you for an example, okay? How many of you have ever seen that TV show Hoarders? Have you ever seen that? Hoarders. Ooh, I can't watch that. It unnerves me. I've seen some episodes. My mother used to watch it a lot. Hoarders. And I can't. It's hard for me to watch that. Number one is because I don't like clutter of any sort. I just don't. And so on Hoarders, you see these people just living in unbelievable conditions. Newspapers stacked to the ceiling, trash, junk everywhere, dogs, cats running everywhere, nothing clean. I mean, just horrible, horrible conditions because they can't let go of things. So then they get somebody to come in there and help them with their hoarding situation. They're going to clean the house, they're going to do all this stuff. And some of these houses take like a week or 2 or 3 weeks to get the junk out of them. And in the process of that, when they go to throwing things away and they go to getting rid of things to help this person out, the person who does the hoarding in almost every episode I've seen has a tremendous meltdown. And that's because the change is so overwhelming that their mind cannot process the fact that at the end of that change, there's going to be a reward and something much better. So the change is so big and so drastic that they just go, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Some of them cry, scream, holler, fall out on the floor, lay out in the middle of the yard crying, they're taking my stuff away. You know, it's like newspapers from the 60s. And so the change is so overwhelming, they can't cope with it. And they end up having mental breakdowns. So, in order to prevent that in your life, and we all need change in some area of our life, in order to take our lives from one level to another level, don't worry about trying to take a big, gigantic step that would involve a lot of things. But what can you do right now to make a small change? Many times, it's the small steps, the small actions that we take that lead to bigger success. For instance, maybe maybe your finances are out of control. Maybe you're running up debt, credit card debt, doing this and this and this. And it's getting out of control. So you realize, hey, I need to change something here. Now then, every person I've ever talked to that talked about people who have massive amounts of credit card debt that need to be paid off, what do they always say to do? They don't say go pay the big one off first. They say take the one with the smallest balance and pay that one off first. So let's say you have a credit card that's got $1,000 on it. And maybe you have another one that has $4,000 or $5,000, $10,000 on it. Don't start with the $10,000 one. Make the minimum payment on that one that you have to. And matter of fact, I would make the minimum payment plus $10 or $20 on that and keep bringing some of the principal down. All right, but then you focus on the $1,000 card. And what you do is you make a decision that you're going to eliminate that one first. So you pay off the $1,000 card. What does that do? Number one, it gives you a short-term victory. A short-term victory. Don't. And one of the principles of the Bible is people in the Bible, you always see them rehearsing and remembering past victories. David did that a lot. You heard me mention the other day, he comes down to the priest's house. He had left in a hurry because Saul was in pursuit of him. He didn't have a sword. And he said, the priest said, I noticed you don't have a sword. He said, I left in a hurry. I didn't pick mine up. He said, do you have one here? He said, I don't have anything but the sword of Goliath. And David said, give me that one, for there's none like it. It represented a past victory. in his life. It was every small victory, the lion, the bear, Goliath. Those things were trophy rooms of victory that he could draw encouragement from, and he could remember those things and remember that if God helped him during those smaller victories, God will help him in the bigger victories. So you start with something small. Why? You're eliminating the overwhelm. You're getting focused on a goal, and you get passionate about that, because you're never going to be successful in anything that you don't have an obsession with. So you got to have an obsession with whatever change that you're going to make. I know when there are things that I want to change in my life and in my business, I write those things down and then I tackle them one at a time. I don't try to tackle 10 things at one time. You can't do it. I know, because the thing I'm talking to you about right now, I've done myself. I try to change too many things at one time, wind up with overwhelm, wind up oppressed, wind up depressed, because I'm trying to do too much at once. So what is a small victory? In the Tim Ferriss's book, I recommend this book to everybody. Matter of fact, one of my doctors, I was talking, Dr. Barry Bertuzziak, the other day. He sent me a video. One of the questions was what books are on your nightstand? And he said, the one book he said was on there was Tim Ferriss's book, which I have a couple of Tim Ferriss books. The main one I have, the first one he wrote, was called 4 Hour Work Week, and a really good book. So Tim Ferriss wrote another book called Tools of Titans. Tools of Titans. What it was, the habits of very successful people. And Dr. Bertuzziak said that's one of the books he had by his bed, Tools for Titans. Now then, one of the guys in the book said this. He said, every morning when I get up, he said, the first thing I do is make the bed. You're going to say, well, that doesn't sound, what does that have to do with success? Well, what does that have to do with raising my level of expectation, raising the bar in my life, getting to another level of success in my life? What would something like that have to do with it? Well, you got to understand the principle of small wins. And so, what does he do? He gets up. The first thing he does in the morning is make the bed. He makes the bed because that's the first win of the day. It is something that was out of order that is now in order. And he does that every day. It's a small win. Now, for some of y'all, you haven't made the bed like in 20 years, okay? You just kind of leave it there because you kind of visit it 4 or 5 times a day. Now, get up every day. Now, I worked with a pastor, Pastor George Lee Glass. Was one of the he may be more meticulous than my mother, but he was the most meticulous man I've ever worked with, ever in history. He had expectations that were extreme, okay? This is a man who, good morning, Jessica Fitch, God bless you. Sherry Smiley, all of you. So, Pastor George Lee Glass was an extreme, very meticulous OCD person. And people used to tell me about his closet. They would say, you've never seen anything like it. And I said, so one day I was over at his house. I said, I want to see your closet. And he said, okay. So I went in there, and you wouldn't believe it. It looked like a Neiman Marcus. I mean, it was well organized by color, everything hanging so far apart. I mean, it was immaculate, the closet. Now then, Pastor George, every morning he had the same routine. Every morning, this is what he did. He got out of bed, dropped down on the floor. He did 60 setups, 60 push-ups, made the bed. got dressed, started for the day. Now, this is a guy, let me tell you how meticulous he is. Gets a haircut every week. You never see his hair not the same way. It's all every week, haircut every week. This is how he was. People who went to Bible school with him told me, said, nobody ever, the man's dorm room was immaculate. He was the only guy that had a phone. He was just that way. And I went to, my son John Andrew and I painted the sanctuary of the Grace Church in DeRidder, Louisiana. It's a big sanctuary, seat 700, something like that. 14-foot walls all the way around. We went in there. And this is what he told me when I get into their stories. There's a beginning and an end. There is no beginning, and the end just goes on and on. We have expectations. And I said, I'm good with that. Now then, when you define your expectation, it makes making change a little easier. Why is that? Because you're seeing the end result before you get there. And so you know that every step you are taking is bringing you a little bit closer to that end result. A lot of times, I've seen guys who have tried to implement church growth programs. And church, getting your church to grow, people say, well, numbers don't matter. Numbers do matter. They're people, souls, and that sort of thing. But I have seen pastors over the years, say we're going to go from 20 to 2,500. And that's an extreme number, but you're getting the picture. They want to go from this small number to this larger number, and they set goals and expectations that are unreasonable in achieving that in the time frame they want to do it. Now then, when I work with my clients, and predominantly they're dentists, very high-end cosmetic dentists or sleep apnea doctors. And so when I ask them, I said, okay, how many new patients are you getting right now? And they'll say, well, I'm getting 20 or 25, 30, something like that. I said, okay, our next goal if you're getting 30, our next goal is 40, just 10 more. Some go, well, how come why not 50? I said, you don't have anything in place to get to 50. You don't have your team is not equipped. They don't ask the right questions. They don't even answer the phone right to get to 50. Okay, the goal is 40, and you can get there. We're going to have to make changes for 40. Now, in the people that I have talked to over the years that are millionaires, and I don't know if I necessarily talked to any billionaires, maybe one that I can think of. But the millionaires that I have talked to, some of them said, I remember one's got a coaching business, and she said she wanted to get to $1 million. She got to $1 million, then she got to 10 million. She got to 20 million, and then she said, I want to get to 50 million in this business. And so she said from 1 million to 20 million was basically the same processes, the same everything. You just had to change what you were doing and do a little more of what you were already doing. So to give you an example of what I mean by that is if you were running 10 ads on Facebook and those 10 ads were getting you to $1 million, then in order to get to 20, you just take that ad and multiply the increase the amount of budget or whatever, and you go from 10 to 20 with those same ads. So you're just scaling what's already in place. But they always say this, instead to go from 20 to 50 though, I had to think differently, because it was not just a matter of scale, it was a matter of what tools and how am I going to implement this to get, because you're not going to be able to do that selling a $20 product. You're going to have different tiers of products, different levels of services, and that sort of thing. You have to think differently to get from 20 to 50. So in order to get to the next level in your life, each level may require you to think a little bit differently than what you were before. But you're going to be taking small steps. Start out all right, where you're at, and let's get some small victories underway. So if you're trying to grow a church, let's say you're at 150, 200 people. If you're in a church, you're trying to grow from 150, 200 people to the next level. All right, let's say you're running 200. Let's say you're running 200. You said, boy, we need to get to 400 or 500. Well, you can get there, but are you prepared for that? Do you have the space for it? Do you have the tools? Do you have everything in place to facilitate that growth? Most churches want to grow from 200 to 400. They don't have an educational process in place for their current staff and leadership team to get from 200 to 400. I'm going to tell you who's a master of this process, like him or not. A master of this process is Mike Murdock. Mike Murdock is a master at filling the gaps to make sure that the team of people that he has is the most efficient possible. Now then, so in Mike Murdock's ministry at the Wisdom Center in Denton, I think it is, he has a set of videos. They're training videos. They bring a team member on. What happens? There's this set of videos. There's a set of educational materials. Everybody's got to go through this process of training and education and understanding the goals, the vision, the mission of his ministry so that there are no gaps in it and mistakes are minimized. So if you're going to grow in your ministry, in your business, and whatever, you need to create an educational process that fills the gaps and gets you there, minimizing the amount of mistakes that could be made. So if you're a pastor today, you need to sit down and go, okay, here's where we're at. If you're a leader, a pastor, you're leading an organization. It could be a church, it could be a business or whatever. You need to sit down and go, because if you look at where you're failing, and I'm not talking about failing in the sense of you're messing up completely and it's about to lead to disaster type of failure. I'm not talking about that. In places where you are weak, all right? In places where you're not as strong as you need to be, you're going to find out that in those areas you're uneducated. All right. Now this can operate. Those of you who are watching today, this can be in your finances, in your relationships, or whatever. If you're not, your relationships are not doing well, it's not because you don't want them to do well. I know people all the time. I say, "Well, you want to?" They say, "I want to be a millionaire." Yeah. You don't even know how to handle $1,000, much less be a millionaire. And the difference between 1,000 and 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, up to $1 million is not the desire to be at 1 million or to be at 50 or wherever. It's not the desire or the want to. It is the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, the insight, everything Proverbs tells you to get. The difference between a church of 200, 300, 400, 500 is not the preaching. There are churches, there's a church in Missouri, it's gigantic. The preacher bores me to sleep. I cannot stand to listen to him. But he's an effective pastor. He's an effective leader. Why? He's closed the gaps. His staff, his team, understand his objectives, understand the vision and mission of the church. And he has educated them and he has taught them and he's brought them alongside to help carry the load to move them into where they are now. So it's not a matter of desire, and sometimes it's not even a matter of ability. Now, I will say it is a matter of skill. I like what Myron Golden says. Everybody needs to learn how to become a skillionaire. It's a skill. There are skills in leadership, skills in financial management, skills in organization, skills in education. And your church is going to need people because you cannot do it all. Your church, your business, your life, it doesn't matter what realm you're in. You can't do it all, and you can't create the change you need to create by yourself. So the difference between being here and here is not desire. It's having the knowledge, wisdom, insight, and understanding, and then the execution to get it there. Then you play a numbers game. The numbers game basically is, let's say you're trying to grow your church and you want to get to 500. You got to ask yourself, how many people do you got to talk to? How many people do you got to get in front of? And how many times do you need to touch those individuals in order to create a conversion? And I'm not talking about a conversion from sin to Jesus. I'm talking about how do you get that person, how many times do you have to touch that person's life in some way or another to get them to come into your vision, your mission, and become a part of what you're doing. On average, it takes 10 to 15 touches to get somebody on board with you. So if you think you can just get up there and preach and put out a few videos on YouTube, if you think that if you want to grow your business, you can just do a little advertising in the newspaper and pass out a few flyers, that's not going to work. We live in a society today that is an attention-getting society, and the people who scream the loudest, the longest, and the most are the ones that get the attention, retain the attention, and are able to convert that attention into results. So you got to think differently. You got to think differently. They say, well, Brother John, this doesn't sound very spiritual. Let me tell you something. Most, and I'm not knocking pastors or any other church leader, but most pastors and leaders are not equipped and do not have the knowledge to talk to you about these things. They can talk to you about faith and the Holy Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit and baptism and being in the Word and speaking the Word and encouraging yourself and worship and all of those sorts of things. And that's all good and needed. But I'm going to tell you, most pastors don't know how to talk to people about how to make a budget, how to handle their finances, how to invest. Well, that's not very, it's very spiritual. It's very spiritual. How you handle your finances is very spiritual, because the Bible talks about money more than it talks about heaven or hell. And then Jesus says that you can't serve God and mammon. You got to serve one or the other. So you're constantly have this fight between this desire to be financially successful, but also please God. So there's a war there that goes on. So, but most, like I said, most leaders, they don't know how to talk to you about steps that you need to, they can give you generalized things about how to have better relationships and that sort of thing. But a lot of times, I can tell you, I say, well, if you want to have a better relationship, husbands, help your wives around the house. Wives, be a little more affectionate toward your husband. Pat him on the head more. Give him a hug. Kiss him 6 times a day, and that sort of thing. But it doesn't get into, they don't get into the details of anger management when you things are not going your way in the relationship, or the frustration or the depression that sometimes a spouse feels when they don't feel like they're getting attention, or if there's financial pressure on the home. What do you do? How can they both work their way out? How can you both together work your way out? It's a vast variety of subjects, frankly, that can't be covered on a Wednesday night and a Sunday morning. So what do you need? You got to do like I do. I realize that I couldn't get, and I've sat under great pastors. Pastor Carl Benton down in Lafayette, Louisiana. Pastor Carl's a wonderful man, the best church administrator I've ever known. Great teacher of the word. His wife, Sister Belinda, precious people. Pastor Ron Charrier, Pastor Joe Stroud has gone on to be with the Lord, Pastor Ron Charrier, my spiritual father, Buddy Turner, wonderful men of God. But I cannot get all I need and could not get all I need for my life from them. So what I have to do, I have to get coaching and mentorship from somebody that can help make up the difference and educate me in the areas where I have desire but not enough knowledge. The Bible says when hope is deferred, Proverbs, when hope is deferred, what you are hoping for is put off. It said hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when a desire is fulfilled, it is a tree of life. So what's the goal? The goal is to get our desires fulfilled. In order to get our desires fulfilled, I must begin to take action on the knowledge I have, but I must set goals of small incremental changes that will help me get there. Those are the strategies of your personal vision. Dr. Stephen Covey says most people, one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is having personal visions. A lot of people don't have personal vision. They don't even know what it is. They don't know how to facilitate it. They'd rather watch TV and get terrible information than to focus in on something and make change. This is why I listen to John Maxwell. I've got John Maxwell's books. I got a lot of them. And I have John Maxwell's leadership podcast and YouTube channel. I have those. I get on there. I listen to those things. I'm not listening every day. I listen to them as I can get to them. There are other people I'm trying to, I have a goal this year in 2025 to monetize my YouTube to a higher level and that sort of thing. So how do I do it? I don't have all the knowledge. It would take me a real long time to get the knowledge for myself, or I can listen to Think Media, who's done it over and over and over again. And I can listen to Daryl Eves, who wrote the book on the YouTube strategies, the guy that's responsible for some of the largest channels on the planet that are making millions of dollars. Instead of me sitting there fighting and digging and all that, I can just go to somebody who's already done it. And I can be mentored and coached by them, shorten my learning curve, and get from where I'm at to where I want to be much quicker. Now, don't be proud. I'm not proud. Listen, most people won't do that because they're arrogant. Most pastors won't change. Most leaders won't change. They won't admit they're wrong. They won't admit what they believed wasn't true because they're afraid of losing a following or losing income or people distrusting them because they decided to change. I respect men who change. I respect men who can say, I used to think this way, but I don't think this way anymore. And here's why. I've made the change. It works. I'm moving forward. And God bless. All right? So don't be afraid to go, I think I'm wrong here. I've had conversations about my own life and ministry with the leaders that are around me. And I was talking to Brother Mike Massa and Brother Donnie Cooper and Brother Greg Crawford the other day. I said, I think I made a mistake here. And told them where I made the mistake. I said, I think I should have. I said, the Lord's original word to me was this. Here we made this change. I think I probably missed God there. I think I made a mistake. I said, I'm going back to the original word God gave me. So I turned around. I just did an about face. Well, Brother John, people may not listen. I'm not in this to please people. I have to do what God says to do. I have to be a God pleaser. And if you're that hung up on me and what I do, you probably got your eyes in the wrong place. Men are going to fail and disappoint. Men are going to have trouble. They're going to have problems. They're going to have things going on that are just not cool. But that's okay. It's okay. If you fail, if you fall, for heaven's sake, don't lay there. Get back up. And then ask yourself this question, okay, why did this happen? What do I need to do to change it? What steps can I take right now to start changing it? And then get up and take action. If you don't do that, you'll just wallow in your pity and your depression, discouragement over the failure, and you'll never get up and move forward. I'm encouraging you today to start making your life a greater success by first just getting some small victories. When you make the bed for a week, you haven't made it for 20 years, but you get up and you make the bed that week. And every time you walk in there, you see the pillows are in the right place, everything's in the right place. You're going to notice something start to happen on the inside of you. When you go in the kitchen and the dishes are all out of the sink, when everything is straight and nice and neat, you're building up victories. They're small. Yes, that's fine. Start with those. Build up those small victories. Clean your car out. Clean your trunk of your car out. I stay on top of my shop building. We're always sweeping, blowing, pressure washing the shop. I love my shop, so I want to take care of it. Get small victories. Get small victories. If you're trying to build a business, and let's say you've been talking to maybe 10 or 15 customers a day. Don't set a goal of 50 customers a day. Say 20 or 25. All right, I'm seeing 15 customers a day. I'm contacting 15 people a day. I'm trying to get sales to 15. Take it to 20. The law of averages will kick in. Get 20 in there. If you're trying to grow a church from 2 to 400, make your goal 210, 215, 220. And then think about what you've got to do to get 10 people into your church or get involved with 10 new people. Start to develop relationships with 10 new people, and then develop that relationship, work on that relationship, and then bring them through a process, encourage them, bless them, bring them through a process that brings them into relationship with you and your congregation. And once you have solidified them, then go to the next one. But the reason most of our churches have growth that doesn't last is because we don't build on a good, solid foundation, and we don't know how to equip people. We know how to preach. We know how to teach. But we don't know how to equip. Preaching and teaching is nothing more than a vehicle for equipping. But there's also other vehicles to equip. There's video, there's audio, there's books, there's whatever. You need those things to build solid foundation and relationships to be able to handle the growth and the change in your life, your business, your church, or whatever. I hope this has helped you today. Hallelujah. God's good. Small changes, short-term victories will lead you to bigger and longer-term victories. I want to encourage you today to find some change you need in your life. Whatever that change is, identify it, and then take action to make that change. But don't do too much at one time. You'll experience overwhelm and go, why in the world am I trying to do this? And end up discouraged and never doing anything. Make one change at a time. You need to get out of debts? Start with the small bill. Start with a small credit card. Pay that one off and go to the next one. You'll find that each one of those wins builds to bigger and better wins. God bless you. We love you. Stay warm. Yeah, it's supposed to be cold here. I'm not looking forward to that. Listen, we love you. God bless you. Join me Sunday morning, 9 o'clock for a time in the Word. And we'll be right here to encourage you in this new year to make it the best it's ever been. This is John Reddick. This is the Wake Up Call. Talk to you later. Bye bye.